Hello everybody, my name is Dan Wynn. I am a veteran volunteer with Solar River. I am here to present to you a quick presentation on gear and prep for the upcoming 2020 Solar River deployment season. I've brought you to the exotic locale of my backyard here, and I've assembled some of the gear that you may or may not be seeing on the upcoming deployments. And I just wanted to go over them and talk to you about preparation of the gear, care of the gear, and how we would like to see you use the gear when we're out there. First off, I want to talk about your personal gear. If you look at me and see what I'm wearing right now, I'm wearing what I would probably be wearing on a typical Solar River deployment, or at least some variation of it. If you'll notice, a lot of the gear that I have on, a lot of clothing I have on, is of a technical fabric. Meaning, what that means is that it's either polyester or nylon or some type of man-made fabric that wicks, that doesn't get wet so easily. It might repel water. What you won't see on me is any cotton. The clothing, the pants I have on are nylon. The shirt I have on is nylon. The only thing I'm wearing that is a natural fabric is wool. I have wool socks on, and wool is actually a natural material that works real well for maintaining heat on your body when it gets wet. The problem with cotton is that when you wear cotton and it gets wet, it will actually wick the heat away from your body, making you colder. It could lead to hypothermia conditions. So we want to steer clear of any cotton products out there. So I know a lot of the gear that we have, the clothing that I have on is, if you don't already have it, there's a lot of options on how you can obtain this gear. I would highly recommend checking out secondhand stores. If you're in the Portland area, Next Adventure, they have a used clearance or a used gear basement, and you find a lot of stuff there. Goodwill. And if you really have a hard time finding these types of items, contact Solar River and we can try to work something out for you. But beyond just the gear, the clothing that I have on, like I said earlier, I'm wearing, or I don't know if I mentioned it, but so I'm wearing a base layer gear. So when it comes to being outdoors, the secret to staying warm and cool is layers. So right now I have on a light shirt layer, light pants, but with that, if the temperature gets colder, I can always add more layers. And so, say it does get colder at the end of the day, I have a top layer I can add on, and then after that, I have a mid layer here that I can add, and then on top of that, I have a thicker jacket shell. For some of these mid layers and jackets, Solar River will actually be providing them for you, depending on the deployment and what gear you might need for that deployment. So some of those items you won't need to provide. Solar River will be providing those for you. Next on the list, you'll notice that I'm also wearing a hat and sunglasses. These are required items for Solar River deployments. If we are out on the river fishing, you're definitely going to need a hat to keep the sun off you, and on a lot of deployments you're going to be outside in the sun, so you want to cover your head. Sunglasses is very important as well. When you are fishing, you've got flies flying through the air, and you need that protection to keep a fly from jabbing you in the eye. Also, optional items include a neck buff like this here. This is my own personal neck buff. You can use a handkerchief or a bandana or something of that sort, but that's another additional optional item. Next, also, you notice my footwear. So I have on my hiking boots here, and these are waterproof boots. Depending on what deployment you're on, you'll have to figure out if you need waterproof boots or just regular hiking boots. And before these deployments, I highly recommend you buy your boots with enough lead time so that you can break them in, so that you're just not wearing brand new boots on deployments. Depending on the deployment you're selected for, you may be hiking long distances, maybe backpacking, and you don't want to be using brand new boots when you're doing all these activities. That's how you get blisters, and blisters just are no fun. Also, other footwear for at the end of the day, I highly recommend having maybe some flip-flops. These are a pair of flip-flops that I have, just regular sandals. Or if you have any other lightweight gear or shoes that you want to wear at the end of the day around camp so that you're comfortable, you're not wearing your sweaty boots all day or all evening. Like I said before, if you have Soul River will be providing some of these items here, the jacket, mid layers, but your personal clothing, your layers, that's all on you to provide. But if you do have issues obtaining that stuff, please talk to Soul River. We can give you some options, or if we can get some gear from other people, maybe we can get it your way. A few other items that Soul River will be providing are water bottles. I don't know exactly which water bottle we have for this season, but you'll need to hydrate on these trips, and always have a water bottle handy. You want to drink as much as possible. On a lot of these deployments, we will be cooking meals and eating around the campfire or wherever we're at, and you're going to have to provide your own cooking gear, or sorry, eating gear. I usually just bring a big, one big mug like this, and I eat all my meals out of here. If you have a fork or something, I don't know where my fork went, but I've got my handy dandy spoon here, and you'll be washing your own dish at the end of the day, eating all your meals out of it. So you'll want something, something that you can clean easily, lightweight, and carry around every day. Also, you're going to want a headlamp or a flashlight of some sort. I highly recommend a headlamp. At the end of the day, you can just put this, on your head, turn it on, walk around, and you don't have to be holding something. You get your hands free. Okay. And for carrying a lot of your gear, I highly recommend grabbing a duffel bag of some sort, depending on the deployment, or if you're going backpacking, Soul River will be providing backpacks for the backpacking trips if you're selected for that. But we're looking for, backpacking backpacks, technical gear of this sort. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is our fly rods, care of the fly rods. So on these deployments, Soul River, fly fishing is the main focal point of our trips. And so I want to showcase, to show to you now briefly the fly rods that you might be using on the deployment and how to properly care for these. So when we show up to a site or a river fishing area, our fly rods are stored in these cases. And we'll show you in greater detail how to assemble your fly rods, but you open up the case, pull it out, and your fly rod will look something like this. It'll come in a few pieces, and you'll have to assemble it, put it together. But at the end, it should look like this here. Now, these fly rods are very fragile, and you have to take care of these for the next season's deployments and the other users. So when you're using the fly rods, we ask you to, it's very important that when you store a fly rod, it's either inside its case broke down, or when you set the rod down, you set it leaning up against something. Please, when you have a fly rod and you're done with it, you're taking a break, do not just set it down on the ground like this. It's easy for somebody just to walk on and step on the fly rod and break it. And these things are not inexpensive. They're very fragile items, and we want to keep them in good condition for the next user. So remember, when you have a fly rod, it should only exist in either this state, leaned up against a tree or against the wall, in your hand, or properly stored in the case. next I want to talk about waders and how to properly put on waders and how to put them on and take them off in a manner that increases the lifespan of the waders for the next person to use. So now I'm going to show you how to put on the waders that you'll be using on Soul River deployments during fishing. So the waders we have here are these great Simms waders, and the ones that you should be using will look something like this, and you'll notice they got these soft booties here, and real quick I want to mention these booties are not meant for walking around on. These are usually the weakest point of the waders, and when these are damaged or there's a hole in them, it's really difficult to repair. So we ask that when you put on your waders, there's a little bit of a process for putting them on properly. And so normally you'll get your waders, and first off, find a nice clean area where you can put your waders on. You know, don't use an area that's just got a bunch of wooded material. Try to find a nice clean area, free of rocks or sharp items, and then go to that area and get all your gear ready. Get your waders handy, set them up close, have them ready, have your boots ready too. And so these are my personal boots, but they will go on over the booties. So once you find your nice clear area, come over, take off your shoes. And then you just step right into your waders. Then you take your boots. Alright, and then notice that on your boots here, or on these waders, there are these extra pieces of material, and these are called gaiters. And when you're done putting your boots on, you'll take the gaiters and just slip them right over your boot. This keeps rocks and other debris out. And there's a little hook here that you could, if you want, just loop right onto your shoelace there. And then in the end, let me see if I can find it here. Put your straps on, and you can adjust these straps to fit you a little bit better. But most importantly, there should be a belt that goes with your waders. This belt goes right around your waist here, claps tight, and then you can adjust it to get it real tight. It's very important to put this belt on, because what the belt is meant for is if you're in a river and you happen to slip and fall, this belt here will help limit the amount of water that goes down the top of your waders and fills up your legs. Once your legs fill up with water, that's a very dangerous situation. So it's very important to have your belt on at all times when you're wading in the river. So this is what it looks like when you've got your waders on. And notice that when I put them on, I wasn't walking around without my boots. I found a nice clean area, and I was able to put all my gear on in one spot without walking around and grabbing my boots or whatnot. So now that you've got all your gear on, you can walk around, and then when you want to take it off, you just do the exact opposite of what you just did to put them on. So I'll come back to my area, and I'll get my boots handy, come back to my area, take off my belt, put it away where I can find it later. And then when we're done taking off your waders, at a deployment, we'll normally have an area designated to hang up our waders, because you don't want when you're done with them, don't just set them on the ground just like that. We want to make sure that we keep these things as long as we can and protect these boots. So we'll normally have maybe a fence or a line rig, and then you can just drape the waders right over the line to let them dry properly. I really want to stress that when you're using these waders, these are expensive items donated to us. We don't have a lot of them, so please try to take as great of care as you can when using these things. It really helps the program for the next deployment or the next person who uses them. Just have a better experience, because there will be times out there when you might put on a pair of waders and it's going to start leaking immediately, and that's probably because the person before you who used them didn't take care of them properly and didn't notify us of the issue. So if you run into any problems with the waders while using them, if they start leaking or there's hole forms, please let us know so that we can take them and separate them and tag them, and then hopefully get you another pair of waders while on deployment.